It's that time of the day, that time of the week, that time of the hour.
Yeah.
Welcome back for another brand new episode of the Beyond Expectation podcast with the two most favorite co-hosts in the entire world, myself, Eduardo, and my boy Brett, aka the White Rhino. It's been a long time waiting for sure. You know, we were definitely trying to make time to come back in the cut and record an episode. Yeah, we've been tremendously busy with, business in regards to the
$1
podcast.
million checks, like left and right.
Yeah. They would notice too if that were to come to fruition as well. You guys would notice definitely if we had $1 million check for sure.
Yeah. I mean, and those are just the small ones.
But nonetheless, we do have some cool stuff. A very special episode coming out here very soon, which I did get confirmation today before we started recording this episode that we'll be recording very soon.
Yep.
And not to floss or anything, but this will be our first live audience recorded episode. You heard that right, ladies and gentlemen. It'll be our first episode where we'll have a live audience in front of us as we record this special episode here to come. We're going to record it. Is it safe to say the date? The 26th, right? Memorial Day?
It's going to be on Memorial Day.
So that's going to go down that day. And we'll put it out as, when we get it fully edited and all that jazz. But
can we give them the preview of who the guest of honor?
I'll let you do that, man.
This one is it's a very, this has been in the works for a while now, and it's just been coordinating with all the different parties. But who is our very special guest, one of our favorite guests that we have had on the show, probably our favorite guest.
Yeah, he's a repeated guest on this, and it's very cool stories.
The most amazing stories.
Yeah.
But Hector, and Eric. And then he's gonna bring some of his posse with him, and he rubs elbows. He's cool with an owner of a restaurant that we will be at, and we'll air out all those details when that happens. So Eric, he helped me put this together. Him and I did this, and we're doing it. We're gonna eat some bomb food, and we're gonna talk about Sasquatch, Bigfoot, all that stuff. We are going to go in there with, like you said, a live audience. Yeah, definitely. So it'll be very interesting for sure. I know we've had these guys on past two previous episodes. If you haven't checked that out, go definitely peep it. It's on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that stuff. All mainstream platforms. We're available on there, so go check it out just to catch up on just who they are and just what they bring to the table in regards to what they do on their spare time, in regards to Sasquatch and Bigfoot. I should say this. I probably will just repeat it, but I'm going to say it now.
All right.
I was talking to Hector, and he was talking about. Well, I told him. I said, "Man, I want to get back into my hiking shape. Because I want to get back into hiking. I miss being out there, and I've shed some lbs, and
not Long Beach either.
I'm just like, I'm more active now, so I'm like, man, I want to get back out hiking. Anyway, so he was telling me on his little Bigfoot trails, about there's a hiking trail that leads you to a hot spring.
Oh wow!
Right?
Oh, then you just take a dip in there and everything.
Well, I think that's where Sasquatch takes a dip. I think that's where he's like.
Just taking a fresh bath in Mother Nature.
Right.
Oh, interesting. Really.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. So I'm gonna ask Hector, like, hey, is that where he's bathing or what?
Is it safe to go in there? This is the question, right?
I'll find out.
Okay. We have a lot of questions definitely in the pod to ask him for sure once this episode once we do record it. So stay tuned for that. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun.
A lot of cool things. Yep.
For sure. But other than that, brother, I mean, before we embark on this crazy journey, I mean, there's a lot happening in this crazy world. We always tend to just figure out where we're going to dive in, in regards to topics to talk about. But before we do, man, how you been? How's life been treating you?
Been good, man. I mean, just keeping a low profile. I've been trying to, just stay quiet, really, which is very rare for me. I'm normally, kind of everywhere all at once, but I've been kind of keeping a low profile lately.
That's good. Same with me. I mean, just kind of keep it low pro, trying to just stay active, running here and there. And, to share with the world, of course, we did have a little gender reveal on what we're having, and I might as well let it be known to the whole world and to the listeners that have been following us since the very beginning. Of course, there's definitely a handful of you that have stuck it through since episode 1, since we did this podcast. We were formerly known as the Tip Touch Podcast. We evolved to be the Beyond Expectation Podcast, so here we are. But yeah, man, I'm having another little girl, man.
Woo!
Yeah, dude, it's I was thankful with whatever the big man upstairs blessed us with, of course. And, he said, you're going to have another little girl, man.
Another
so here
little
we
girl,
are.
man.
So low key, I wanted a boy. But, and that's just me. If you were to ask me, that was my response. But hey, I'm just, as long as this baby's healthy, everything goes smoothly come delivery date, I'll be a happy dad.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So everybody, listeners, prayers, well wishes, thoughts, all that stuff. Send those my man's way.
Appreciate it.
Him,
Appreciate
his
it.
beautiful wife, his beautiful family. And
yeah,
so,
family's growing, man. Family's growing. And is there, I don't know if it's the same for every dude out there, but do you always get into that mode of, you kind of start already thinking about, I know you think about it in the moment when obviously you find out that, you're going to have a child, but also does your mind go like 1,000 miles per hour to think about like, man, like, what am I going to do different this time? What should I do this time around that I didn't do for this child right now? It's just like my mind goes in scramble mode. I don't know if it's just like self-preparation on my end. But does that happen to you or anything like that?
Yeah.
Just run on topic.
There was a 9-year age gap between child 1 and child 2, both daughters.
Yeah.
And, when child 2, now child 1, unfortunately, there was a separation, divorce when she was young. And so, of course, my first plan was, let's keep this one together.
Let's hope for the best.
I don't want to be the dad in this one's life to be, run out for a pack of smokes and
never come back,
never show up. So no, I mean, of course, I did. I mean, even with daughter number 1, we remained close for very long, and so I wanted to repeat a lot of those things with maybe some. I wanted to tinker with the algorithm a little bit,
Yeah.
And I tell you, but here's the thing: you can plan all you want.
Yeah.
The personalities between them are just night and day. Night and day. And so you're just like, I mean, it was literally back to the drawing board when her little personality started to show up. She's very strong-willed, very, the first one was just like anything goes, whatever, no grief, no nothing, right? This one, she keeps me on my. She reminds me of me, though. That's what it is she reminds me of me. And let me just tell you.
Yeah. Let's talk.
We were sitting there last night, right, or the other night, and I'm reading my books or whatever, and I like to take notes in cursive, right? I'm using my fountain pens. Well. Anyway, so I look over at her, and this is right before bedtime, but she's sitting over at her mom's vanity dresser, and she has her notebook, and she too is writing notes in cursive with her fountain pen.
That's like a lost. That's a lost. I guess font that they're really getting away with cursive in general, right?
Yeah, well, they're learning it, but now she sees me. She's, I can see her. She'll read through my notes or whatever, and I think she's just learning. Okay, letters and all that.
That's cool though. That's cool.
And but it was something that I got away from. But it wasn't until I started getting into fountain pens.
Yeah.
I just went on the dude. I'm telling you, I get made fun of for this nonstop. But I found this weird little fetish that I have that I didn't realize I had.
Oh.
Fountain pens. I mean,
that's what you were telling me. Yeah, you were collecting them, or you were just buying a few random ones, right?
Yeah, I think this week I got 3.
Jeez.
And they're like 150 a pop, 200 a pop.
So people have Pokemon cards. My boy here has pens. You know what I'm saying?
And it's just, yeah, and I just like
that's cool though. I mean, hey, it's your hobby, dude. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. I get clowned all the time for it, though.
No, I mean, but there's since we're talking about pens in general, I've always wondered, have you ever done the whole dipping the pen in the ink, the little bottle of ink?
So I haven't done the dipping, but it's really similar. Like basically, so when you first put a fountain pen in, it'll come with an ink cartridge in it.
Okay,
but you have to let it sit for about 5 minutes.
Okay.
Or if you want to write with it right away, then you would dip it in the ink and you can use it right away.
Okay.
So yeah, it's like that. It's just minus the dipping. It just has that cartridge in there that do. But the inks, I mean, dude, there's this color called Rider's Blood. Ox blood, imperial purple, Oxford blue. I mean, there's just all these different colors you can go with. It's just, it's versatile. It's fun. And it's just kind of like, I've always been a writer. Remember, I used to do music all the time, write music and all that. it's no different now. Here I am, my 40s now, and I'm sitting there and I'm just like writing.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I should use a purple ink today.
You just got like a stash right in front of you, dude.
I'm gonna go with Canal Side Green on this one. We use the Lamy 2000 Canal Side Green.
Right. That's when
You know what I'm talking about.
You use that to send the big checks. You know what I'm saying? The big numbers. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I'm talking about, and the gold nibs, right?
Yeah.
The gold nibs. They have the stainless steel nibs. Then you got the gold
my
nibs.
boy knows a lot.
You got the 18 karat gold and then the 14 karat gold.
Real gold too, right?
Real gold.
Woo!
Yeah, gold nibs. That's why
pretty ballin',
that's where a lot of the expense is. So
That's pretty flossing to think, like, if you're wearing like a suit and you just have like a gold pen just tucked in there.
Oh yeah, that's the idea.
Instead of gold cubing chains, my boy's having just full gold out pens. Hey man.
Yeah, it's cool because
Different part of the swag,
if our house ever gets robbed, right, they're gonna take everything but the pens.
Yeah.
Like
it's like it's all you invested was in those pens right there.
Exactly.
That holds all the value.
It's a weird world.
That's awesome.
But anyway, it was so cool seeing her do that, and I was just like, I was looking at it. I'm like, man, you are doing it right.
That's
You
good,
are doing
man.
it right.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. They definitely, they mirror us a lot. Like as kids grow up, they definitely they're sponges to what they see. And if they see, some cool stuff like that, they're gonna definitely adapt to it and do it for themselves. So that's awesome. So moral of the story, being a father, stressful but very rewarding. It's a good thing. The family grows, and when definitely just with your kids, right? It's definitely it gives more meaning to life. In my personal
Totally.
opinion, it's you definitely have a lot more to live for, and it's it definitely pushes you a lot more to be better. You know what I'm saying? So it's a good thing.
It forces us, right? It sort of forces you into knowing the reality that there are people in this world that you put before yourself.
Oh, dude,
right?
120, no, 1,000%, bro, for sure, at all times.
Yeah, and you just look at this society. So that's what kind of messes me up, right? Like, I had a friend come from out of town a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I was sharing a story with him about we had a it was the night that we had a hailstorm, right?
Okay,
and so I
okay.
had to go outside and I had to throw a comforter over my windows to make sure that they didn't get cracked, whatever. If the hail, it was supposed to be hail the size of golf balls.
Oh, really? Damn.
And so I ran out. Well, anyway, so the next day I had to go to work. And so I'm leaving the house at 4 a.m. and I'm like, oh man, I got to just throw these blankets in the trunk real quick.
Yeah.
So I threw them in the trunk, forgot about them. Right. And all of a sudden, like 3 days later, I'm like, man, my trunk smells like Casey Anthony's trunk. So I'm telling my friend the story.
Word.
But I mean, you go back to that, right? And
Yeah.
she was found not guilty.
Which is insane, dude.
Which-
I still can't wrap my head around that. Me and my wife watched the case on that. It's like, it almost is like, are you serious?
Yeah.
Like everything points out for this. If anybody hasn't seen that case or heard about the case, it's the case of the mom. Do you have to say allegedly? Or
Yeah, you have to say allegedly.
Okay,
I mean,
allegedly,
she was technically found not guilty.
yeah, she pretty much murdered her daughter.
Yeah,
Right? And dumped her
that's what
body
she
and
was
all
accused
that,
of.
right?
She was accused of murdering her daughter. The trunk. So the parents had questioned her. They said, "What is that smell coming from your trunk? Smells like a dead baby."
Lo and behold.
And then she like whatever. And then there was like speculation that the parents were involved.
Yeah. Yep.
And in removing the body and. Yeah, so I mean, really, it was just she was the only person that could have done this, and yet she was found not guilty. And what it was she was this young, attractive party girl. So even while she's on when she's being questioned about it, she's still partying. She's still going. They've got pictures of her with cigars. She's dressed in these skimpy outfits, and and her child is missing.
Yeah.
And she's just out there doing her own thing,
enjoying
living her best life.
That's insane, dude.
So
yeah.
there's
That's
those
insane.
parents too, I guess.
Yeah, complete opposite. Complete opposite, horrible. And she's out here like, I think the last thing I heard about her in general specifically was just her talking about how she's going to be some type of lawyer.
Pastor?
Is it pastor? No. I was like, whoa. I thought it was like a lawyer. Definitely not
But
going
I mean,
to
that would only make sense, right? In this world.
Man, dude, no, it's but yeah, she got scot-free, man. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That is insane. But yeah.
Can we talk about OJ for a second?
Let's talk about it.
No,
Dude.
I'm just kidding.
If the glove don't fit, you must have quit, right? That's where we left off on that, man. Poor guy. They're trying to put some other like cases on him. Like, the dude passed away. It's like, what more do you need to drag this on more? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like recently, I read something about, or it was a while ago. I read something about they were trying to push other charges on him, like on a
Where there's money, the's litigation. Right. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
It's insane.
More money, more problems.
Exactly. Well, speaking
Segue.
of that, yeah, perfect.
Well, it was supposed to with OJ, but you weren't catching on, so I figured.
Good way.
All right, we'll take another out.
Right? No, yeah, we're definitely taking this exit here. So, in the realms of this whole P Diddy case with Cassie being on, took the stand these past couple of days, right? A lot of things were unveiled in regards to details of these so-called freak-offs that they would have, right?
P Diddy.
And, but before we go into this, right, like I was telling you kind of before we started recording the pod, we said it numerous times, right? Because we always talk about, the complete thought how in the past, we'd always have this description of, at the time, Suge Knight, Death Row Records, Suge Knight himself being the boogeyman of music, while we used to see Sean Combs being the opposite, being kind of like quote unquote the good guy, right?
Yeah.
Like,
he was the pretty boy of rap.
Yeah, doing his thing. He did no harm, has done no harm, just doing his thing.
Yeah. Fast
Forward, all this comes out on how he was just according to what I'm reading here, that he's the legal troubles are primarily centered on federal charges of racketeering, conspiracy, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution. Insane. And when this all came out, man, it just started like, so the one piece of hard evidence that nobody will be able to forget, of course, and when this came out, it just spread like wildfire. And I even sent you the clip of it was when he was literally physically abusing Cassie.
Yeah, that was messy.
That right there was enough for me to like that right there, that alone was enough for me to really realize that if this is only the tip of the iceberg on what's been, hidden from the public eye, whatever, I would not be surprised if there was much more that we are going to unveil, or they're going to unveil with him being involved with all these illegal activities. Right. But it's insane, man. It's insane that it's come down to this, where they're actually going through this trial on how, he's orchestrating drug-fueled, quote-unquote, freak-off parties, coerced sexual acts that were, I guess, recorded. And, all these victims they felt like they were obligated to be involved with this through like violence and also just what's that word I'm trying to use? They were trying to like hold it against them in a sense, kind of like extortion. Yeah. And this is what I don't understand now, right? There's a lot of people within his circle that have yet to speak up about this. Now, mind you, if your hands aren't clean, I can understand that you're not going to want to be outspoken about this stuff.
TD Jake.
But
was that out loud?
The comments are going to have a heyday with you. But it's just, there's people that have been involved or may have not been, but have been exposed to that stuff and are witnesses that at this point they could do at least some good to come out and speak about it.
Yeah.
To where they could help out these victims that have gone through this, or that he's, definitely, that Diddy's gone up against to either ruin their career or tarnish their image. Because the one thing, the one story that really stuck out to me when all this was starting to bubble up were the girls from Danny Kane. How all the shady just contracts and everything was just, it was so messy that they just really want to know part of it. But at the end, it's like they had to sign a bunch of NDAs stating that they could never go up against Bad Boy or even tarnish the Bad Boy record label image.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that just did not make sense to me, and it just made a lot of red flags appear, in my opinion.
What are some of the allegations with Danny Kane? So
there's no allegations towards Danny Kane, but they saw a lot of things that they themselves have witnessed, like during the time that they were with P Diddy, that were just like a lot of contracts that just made no sense to them. They really never got paid. And one of the girls, I forget her name specifically, was really outspoken, how like she just felt she was always being watched because she felt the more she would speak out about just all this stuff that he was doing at the time when they were, involved with Bad Boy, that he just felt that Diddy could possibly harm her in some way.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, and think about it. There was that one also, Cassie, when she took the stand, she was talking about how she was in a relationship, or she was starting a relationship with Kid Cudi at the time.
Ooh,
and he had his supposedly, allegedly, that Diddy somehow had somebody set an explosive on his car to, take him out. So, I mean, there's a lot of things here where they pinpoint out to where Homeboy was definitely, there's a different side of him.
Without going too graphic or anything, kind of set the stage for everybody about what sort of makes a freak off party. What is, I mean, like, what are the elements of it?
So for one, in 2024, in March, the raids happened at his Los Angeles home and Miami home, and they found a bunch of drugs, and they found over 1,000 bottles of baby oil.
So you got alcohol, drugs,
baby oil. I mean, you can kind of paint your own narrative, paint your own picture on what that baby oil would be used for. But I'm just saying, it ain't going to be involving a baby. I'll tell you that. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
it's
dude, like by the truckload,
dude. And I remember at that time that he was getting flamed, dude, like on just social media, making a bunch of memes about the guy, and just having baby oil having to do with P. Diddy and all that stuff. It's insane, dude.
It's just like, it grosses me out, because I remember at the time that he's doing this, he's also kind of flirting with this idea about putting out a God album, a gospel album.
Yes.
And, it's like, who are you fooling, my man? Like, you can't, if you're playing with that level of a power, right? Like, I guess, I mean, other people do it too, but you cannot bring the high power like that and think that you're going to get away with it. Like, be so public. And so, like, that is, what's that quote, that saying, about the pride and the downfall, the pride comes before the downfall, or something along those lines. You guys know what it is, but anyway, and so he just got so rich, so powerful, so arrogant that he got away with so much. I mean, mind you, he was with J-Lo in that nightclub. The girl got her nose shot off, and he totally got away with it.
Yeah.
Shine was the one that took the charge on that and got deported. And, he later started, I don't know. I don't even think he really came out and said much about that, did he?
What is it?
Did he?
Not right. You rhyme when you don't even want to rhyme. It just comes naturally. No, but I'm saying you're right.
Wired.
It's a lot of people. I mean, granted, right? Like, does the rule apply where you're not going to snitch on certain individuals if you get brought to the stand or whatever, or you don't want to really speak about stuff that, I don't know, potentially maybe they were involved with it and they didn't even know, but it's like, why would I want to say something now if it's like not involving me? But I know a bunch of names are probably being said in that courtroom, dude, where it's like, it's almost kind of, how do you steer away from that? You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of these other like big names that are being, names being thrown out there. But one of the things too is obviously Cassie on May 13th, which was a couple days ago, she described violent arguments where Combs would smash me in my head, knock me over, drag me, kick me, and stomp me, leaving black eyes and bruises. Cassie Ventura said Combs coerced her into freak-offs with male escorts, which she had, quote, found disgusting and degrading, often under threats of a career or safety. And that's also, too, something that now that you look back at it, I think his name is Ryan Leslie, was the producer at the time, and he was an artist, and he was trying to get her pretty popping back at that time when she was really coming out. Because one of the songs that really she was known for was a song called Me and You. And that's the one that really kind of catapulted her career, right? Yeah. But after that, I mean, if you really think about it, everything kind of went just a rogue at that point. And I guess it's because from my understanding, Diddy had a lot to do with that, where if she didn't really comply with his wishes, I'm guessing, allegedly, right, that, he would pretty much tarnish her name and just ruin her career because he had a bunch of ties with the inner circles within the realms, right? So that kind of makes sense to me. I mean, it falls in the line of, hey, you don't do what I tell you to do, or what I say.
And you're romantically involved, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's the hard thing. There's an age gap between them too, and she's this young, attractive woman that wants to get her career going, and then all of a sudden she finds herself in this situation. It's a very hard situation too, because we saw this play out with Harvey Weinstein, where these young, attractive actresses, they've wanted to get these top-notch roles, but apparently, in the industry, there's a air quote price to pay. There, you got to pay to play if you want to get this high. And I think that that it appears, at least, that Diddy was doing the same thing with Cassie. And I was kind of following up on this story, and it was talking about the people in the courtroom. You've got Sean Diddy Combs, his family was there, like his son, his mom, and then on Cassie's end, you had her husband
right?
there, and so in court they had to read through some of these explicit texts, and you can see the reporter was saying that she was very well composed. She was pretty confident, but visibly uncomfortable when she had to read some of these texts that were professing love and commitment and whatever to Diddy. And so it's a very, very complicated situation for, I think, people to be in, where love, I mean, you probably do feel love, but how do you, when you're faced against this, I mean, this happens with people who have husbands that are alcoholics, and they find themselves on the wrong end of a knuckle sandwich.
Yeah, to say, the least, right? Yeah.
And so, it just goes to show, I mean, it's just a lot of people love. You can be blinded by a lot, and you let a lot more go when your heart is invested in this person. And there's things telling you that maybe he'll change. Maybe if I do change this about myself, maybe he'll change. And it finally just gets to the point where it becomes so toxic. And then now you find yourself probably needing some professional help.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
It's
definitely
so
just
tough.
leaving the whole situation, right? And it's always kind of like, they always say it's so tough for the victim to kind of leave the situation, right? Because it's like they're almost kind of brainwashed to feel guilty if they do somehow. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's just weird. But so a very interesting thing here on what's going to come here in the near future with this trial, just to kind of, I guess this is kind of where the juicy stuff is going to come in. They have evidence, according to this is saying they have evidence of videos of these quote unquote freak offs and further testimonies from victims 2, 3, and 4. So they're going to show this stuff in court. So, I mean, I'm just saying, if those videos show what all this stuff and what people have speculated this whole time, it's kind of hard for him to win this case, bro. I'm just saying, there's full-blown evidence, and they could say, well, it could be AI rendered, it could be AI this. But also, we look back at the video of Homeboy doing whatever he did to Homegirl Cassie. They try to hide that evidence for like $100 million or something like that. It was like a crazy.
I thought it was
number.
like only 16,000 or something.
I thought it right here said $100 million, but that's crazy. I don't know, but.
I think it was she got paid the $100 million to shut up, but then the hotel that night they paid. It was either 16,000 or 30,000. It was one of the two. I forget the figure, but they paid the hotel, somebody at the hotel, to get rid of that tape.
Yeah.
And I don't know how it lived,
dude. And also to think, right, that stuff, if you were to come across with some footage like that, that would have the potential to be leaked out pretty quick.
Right.
But somebody definitely got paid.
Yeah. Somebody.
But yeah, man. So yeah, that's what's currently going on right now. Obviously, Cassie's, she's took the stand, and we'll see where this goes, dude. But I mean, it's been a long time coming, because when we first heard about it, when that video released of him putting hands on her, it's like, damn, we're already at this point where they're going through the trial. I mean, what do you think? Do you think that he's gonna be locked up for a while, or do you think he might get out of it? Because I keep hearing both ends that he might win this case, or he might take a plea deal and get like a lower sentence. But
no, didn't they offer him a plea deal and he said no?
I don't know. I don't recall.
I heard that they offered him a plea deal and he said nope. He's sticking to his guns. So he has enough confidence in his defense attorneys and his defense that he's gonna overcome. He's gonna succeed in this. The stakes are high for sure. It just all depends on the evidence. And the thing is, he's a very rich, very successful, very loved person. Hated by some, but loved by a lot. And he's been in the industry. He's been rubbing elbows with a lot of powerful people. And unfortunately, in this country, people really let a lot of stuff slide that shouldn't slide with people like that. And so it would not surprise me in the least bit if we find a not guilty verdict.
That'd be crazy. And yeah, I mean, how do you move forward from that, for all this stuff that's going to be tied with your name and all that? I mean, I
think that
it's just wild to me. It's just wild to me that this is really how this is all played out. You know what I'm saying? Like, you get to a point of power and having all this money, it's like, you're really going to be doing this stuff, dude? Like,
and
really?
Think about
Come
that,
on,
though.
man.
I think ultimately...
I'll never understand.
Maybe he doesn't do any prison time, but, what was OJ really able to do after he was found not guilty?
He was on podcast. Didn't he have like a podcast or something like that? And he was like still going to autograph signings and just doing
was he? Well, but playing not golf. Making the money that he was making, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And so, I mean, P. Diddy will... sort of, he'll find ways to make some money or whatever, but never it's gone. Whatever he was doing in the past and all the projects he was involved in and all, he'll never be on mainstream television. Yeah. Mainstream music ever again. He's done. That part is done.
The name will be too blemished where I don't think people are going to want to work with him. So that's kind of my guess. So let us know what you folks think. Do you think he's going to get away clean and clear, or you think he's going to face some major jail time? Let us know your thoughts and opinions on the comments down below when you watch this, when this drops or whatever. Let us know what you think. I mean, it's definitely the talk of the town and what's going on with these high class cases with these celebrities. So, but yeah, that's crazy. But moving on to other, here on this podcast, we talk about the most randomest stuff, of course, whatever we find of interest. And of course, we're both music heads. It's fair to say, we're both we like rap, of course, we talk about the golden era a lot with the 1990s, like 2000s kind of, but more like in the 1990s, right?
Yeah, mid 90s.
And I hit you with a suggestion on an album you should listen to, and I'm sure a lot of folks probably have heard this group, but the Twins. So they're a group from the Long Beach, California, and their brothers Dion Triploak Williams and Dwayne Waniak Williams, and they're really close to, and they're associated with Warren G, of course, who is a pioneer of G-Funk, of course, and he's a producer from Long Beach. So they released one album. And, it makes me always, it made me reminisce, like thinking about, when we look over artists or when we look over producers we don't give enough credit to and praise to, when we actually go back in the archives and listen to this stuff to kind of get our second or third opinion on stuff, because I like to do that sometimes, go back like, man, I need to listen to this album because it didn't really hit me once, but maybe the second time will. And I've told you, man, just cruising on my way here, it just gave me this feel good vibe that this music was such a almost the right choice to listen to as I'm rolling, down I-5 on my way over here. And it's just like that. When you have a good song or a good music playing, it's like when it just feels uplifting, it puts you just in a good mood.
Yeah.
And that's what I felt. That's what I felt when I was listening to this. I'm like, and I was surprised that you've heard of them, but you never listened to the album. And I'm like, dude, in my head, I'm like, man, my boy would appreciate this album 110%. But
I think you gave me a gem.
No, I'll say this, and I've said this before. I feel like Warren G, in my opinion, aside from him just because he, obviously he's a rapper, but production level, I'll say this on the pod, on our platform, that I would say he's up there, if not a slight little bit above Dr. Dre, or right there on the same level as him. Only because of the production level and value he brought to that album. And of course, do your Googles, do your Apple Music, searches. Twins. That's what the album is called.
TWINZ.
Yeah, TWINZ, and it's called the album is called Conversation, and it was the only album that they ever released, and it came out at the time in 1995. So think about it, 1995 to 2025, it still hits. And I'm just saying, like, I mean, people will be like, oh, well, you're in your mid 30s, you're not really in tune with what's coming out with the young guys. Listen, I give a shot to all this new stuff that's coming out. I'll call it if it's good, if it's crap. It's just, I'm straightforward with it. A lot of the stuff as a lay, it's kind of hard for me to really think like, oh, this is solid, good music. And it always comes down to the production level. Production level isn't high. If the bar isn't set high to me, where like it really delivers on the first song, especially when it comes to albums. I feel like albums nowadays, even songs are narrowed down to like less than 3 minutes.
Yeah.
I remember when songs were like 3 to 4 minutes, 4 minutes and 30 seconds, something around that.
Son, I remember Freebird going 7 minutes long, felt like 20.
There you go. See, so is it just because of the fact that we're so narrowed down to where our mindsets and just our attention span has gone so short to where we're losing? I don't want to say losing, but we're not giving a chance for creators or artists or whatever it is to really deliver what they would call art for you to absorb and really analyze and really to think like, oh, am I going to enjoy this or is it crap?
I think it's the artists themselves. I think they are riddled with ADD and they're just like, man, I only got enough concentration for 3 minutes and that's all I got.
It's the per 30s they're hitting pretty hard, man. Oh my. But no, but what I'm saying is though, like it's timeless music to where, you look back at that stuff when it was made years ago and it stands its true test of time. And that's when you have such a very good album. And the sad, unfortunate part, it was the only album they ever released.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So it's one of those things where like, I've tried to do my digging on just kind of like what happened, and I don't want to obviously I don't want to like put any misinformation out there, but it never, bless you, it never really, they never really did anything with it aside from just releasing the album and releasing a single, and that was that. And obviously they on this album they showcased their controversial rap style reflecting everyday life in Long Beach, and they achieved moderate chart success and remains a quote unquote G-Funk classic. So
yeah, baby.
Yeah, man. It's and they were definitely guests on Warren G's album, of course, Regulators. And yeah, man, it's just I wanted to bring this up only because, like I said, we've talked about music before, and if we want to give suggestions out for anybody listening to music or anybody that's always curious to listen to anything different aside from all the stuff that's currently coming out, I would definitely would want to say 110%. Go check that album out, Twins, Conversation. Mm-hmm. It stands the test of time, dude. And I hope you listen to it. So the next episode, maybe not, if we do couch an episode before the one we're going to record here on our first live episode, I want you to give me your honest, full down breakdown opinion on it. Mm-hmm. Just coming from a person that hasn't listened to it at all, has heard of them, but listened to the album fully. And I want to get your 2 cents from it.
I'm a huge Warren G fan, and I've always been a fan of his production. I mean, every album that I was listening to, so he came out with Regulators, then he came out with Take a Look Over Your Shoulder in 97, and then I think his next album was in 99, I Want It All. He did the single with Mac 10.
Yeah.
And I was listening to Mac 10 at the time too. But I mean, it was just, I just loved listening to his music, like his beats, the way that he would, that G-Funk, that flavor that he came with. And I even back then I kept asking myself, why isn't he getting more notoriety for this? Why are people sleeping on this? So even back then they were sleeping on Warren G. But I think my theory is that because Death Row was so white hot, had all the attention, you had Tupac. I mean, it wasn't just his music. It was the fact that he had court cases going on. He had, the court case going on in New York, and then he'd been shot. So, I mean, it was literally all eyes on him.
Yeah.
And then there was Suge Knight with everything that he was going through. There was Dre and Snoop. I mean, it was white hot. And so if you were even in that orbit, but you weren't completely connected, such as the Twins, such as Warren G, then it was going to be hard for you to go make any next step, because then Tupac gets killed.
Yeah.
Then Dre leaves the label. Then Snoop leaves the label. Then Suge Knight goes to prison.
Yeah, it started crumbling little by little.
I mean, it was just everything. But our attention was on all of that. So even when the music was coming out from Warren G and Twins, it just, the attention wasn't there. Like all of our collective attention was on Death Row, on Bad Boy.
Yeah.
Right. And so even other albums like Rapping Forte,
Yep.
he was coming out, and I think he was from Oakland, right?
Yeah, he was from the Bay. Yep.
And then Selly Cell.
Yeah.
It's going down tonight.
Classic, yeah.
God. That whole, I love Selly Cell so much. And, well, I like another one of them. Pop the Trunk.
Yeah, you don't think my boy knows music, he knows.
That Bay Area music, So like if you were kind of like them, and then there was Sibo, he was also, so if they were kind of outside but loosely associated, that's why Tupac was working with them, because they were making names for themselves outside of the Death Row orbit.
Yeah.
And they were great. But the other thing, I just lost it. But anyway, but with Warren G and with the G Funk, I mean, that has always just spoke to me. So when you showed me that,
yeah,
I was busy and I didn't get to pop it in. But now that we're talking about it,
yeah,
I know that tomorrow I'm gonna consume the whole thing.
Oh,
I
dude,
know it.
It's I left it on shuffle, in the way that we're playing the tracks. It always feels good when you play one track and it follows to the next one. It's just as a banger as the first one. Then the third one plays just as a banger as the second one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm like, dude, it just spoke to me like, man, dude, if only the production quality was this high with like a lot of the stuff. And I get it, because I guess it has to come down to where it's who has the sauce and who doesn't.
Yeah.
And Warren G by far still has the sauce.
Yeah, it's like you were talking earlier about the production now, right? And it's just so simplistic.
Yeah. Oh, dude, yeah.
Simple.
Yeah.
It's hard to listen to.
Yeah.
Because no one puts their soul into anything anymore,
Yeah.
And I think that's part of that attention span. There's this attention deficit going on in artists today, that no one wants to spend any amount of time on substance, on lyrical substance, or on musical substance, on the beat end, or on production substance.
Yeah.
So no one wants to spend that, like, oh, how much am I going to get paid for this or whatever? Okay, this will be good enough. Everything is just good enough now.
Mm.
And the soul is gone.
Yeah.
The soul is missing. So when you get people like Warren G, where the soul is now just hard grained into him.
Yeah.
It's hardwired into him. That's all he knows.
Yeah.
Is just, I've got to put my soul into this music. And so he's paying attention to every little part of that beat, the snare, the strings, the synth, all that stuff, the drums. And it's just this masterpiece every time.
Man, it's the more like I listen to the album, because it's been the one song that I've been playing on repeat every now and then is Round and Round. So go check that one out by the Twins. Just alone that beat, it's like, man, bro, like it's a feel good. Like you said, little intricate parts of that beat alone. It's like, he has that one scratch sample of Regulators, where he's like Regulators and round, like that roundup. He has that part in that song, but he scratches over it, and I'm like, oh, it's like a little Easter egg, like Easter eggs within those beats. Like when you hear that stuff, it's like you appreciate it, because it's like they reuse it, but in a clever way.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But it's stuff like that, like But no, man, Round and Round would be the first song I would say. I think that's the first
song you sent me.
That's the first track on that album. That's where it starts off. But if you let it play out, you won't be disappointed. I'll tell you that. Yeah. So definitely
tomorrow, game on.
You definitely check it out. But aside from that, like, what would you say if you could pick your top 3 beats? What would they be?
Beats.
Like in the history, like you've heard that were like when you first heard it, it was It could be 2. We can narrow it down to 2, but I know 3 is
Okay.
kind of a bit because I mean, there's a catalog of music. I'm sure you probably heard,
Yeah.
like, damn, this beat's hard. But what would you say is
The one that comes to mind right off the bat is Tupac Ambitions as a Writer.
dun, dun, dun,
Dun, dun.
dun.
You
Yeah,
just,
yeah,
I mean, that right there, and then you have the eerie strings in there.
yeah.
And then you just like you get into it, you know, like you're there. And
I'm Pac.
I mean, anytime the aggression sets in, it doesn't happen so much now, you know, but anytime the aggression sets in, you throw that in there. And it's just like it takes me back to just being a young buck.
Yeah.
And then it takes me through my party years, and then like anytime we knew we were gonna get in a fight.
It was your hype up
Anytime.
song. It was your hype up song before you started
on
scrapping. Yeah.
Let's get ready to rumble. You know, and then he just coming out with just it's like this dragon just spitting fire, and you're like, yeah, that's the level I'm on right now. Who wants it? You know? And so the beat right there was just right there. That's what comes to mind.
Yeah.
So I'll go with that, and then I'll think about another one. But what do you have?
The first one for me that really got me just into rap in general that will always be forever ingrained in my mind. I've told this story before on the podcast in the past, I'm sure, but I really remember, like it was yesterday, my uncle was like cleaning it. He had a Beretta.
Yeah, I had one.
It was a Beretta, a red Beretta, and he was
what I
cleaning
had.
it, and he was playing "Murder Was the Case" really loud. He had a sound system and everything. But when you hear that, though, like I don't know what it is. Like I always try to dive into, like, I wonder what that sound is. You know, on when it does like that "Murder Was the Case" that they gave me.
Yeah.
That specifically, that string.
Oh yeah, that was just.
I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
Like that. That sucked me in right away,
Dude.
And then when I heard it as I got older, I'm like, oh, this is the song that I first heard. Yeah, dude.
That was a scary song to listen to when you were a kid.
Yeah.
Because he's making a deal with the devil.
Yeah.
You know
well,
what I mean?
it did spark almost like that fear. Like it sounds scary. Yeah. Like as a kid, like it almost
the
kind of like
whole thing.
traumatized you a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
It was
that's
scary.
That's what made me remember it, because that's what was like. And I remember seeing also the CD case of him looking at the chick's booty, you know? That also too kind of enticed me.
Not even supposed to look at it, it's just an illustration. But you still know what's going on. Yeah.
Those two combined, that's what really sucked me in.
Yeah.
But no, but alone, that beat, I would say just off rip, was like one of the ones. Just because like just how that was to me what Death Row, like if you were to say what sound would that be, that's what it'd be right there. That beat alone.
That's pretty wild.
Right.
I think about it, you just make it now. The nostalgia is just hitting me, and I'm just thinking about all those songs. I mean, I played those songs. I even have this Snoop Dogg album that has, and I have it in my collection, that has a song on there called Next Episode that not like you can't go and get it today. So I don't know why it's suddenly not on new albums or whatever. People don't buy CDs anymore anyway.
Oh yeah, it's
but
definitely
it's like
things of the past.
but that song, I love that song. That was one of my favorite songs. And then I found out that it was not a song that was on all the other albums. And so I'm like, man, I don't know how I got my
You
hands
must
on
have a
this
1 out of
one.
1, dude. Hey Snoop, if you want it, 100,000.
Holla at you, boy.
100,000. A cool 100,000.
Yeah.
Or a studio. We'll settle for it.
Or anybody. I'll sell it to anybody. You know.
Yeah, that's crazy. Okay. But second beat, what would be the second one that comes off to mind?
Second beat. Man, I mean, you know, I just second beat. That's
a lot.
So number 2 is hard,
Yeah,
right?
I think because the first one's always going to be like the one, right? But there's a follow up.
I gotta go East Coast on this one. It was Biggie, Hypnotize.
Oh yeah.
And it was just like,
Yeah.
Brum, brum, brum.
Yeah.
Look at this. I'll stop.
He says it. You're gonna bleep
Name
it.
brand. 2111. You could run.
Yeah. It's like, what does he say? All of my ski hoes, something. It's like something Coogee. I'm trying to remember. I'm horrible.
With the Gucci and the
Yeah. That part was
my
pretty.
Moschino hose. Yeah. My Versace hot chick.
Yeah. He was crafty with the wordplay, dude.
I loved it.
He was crafty with it, and on that beat too. It was. I remember vividly, dude. I heard that song for the first time. We were coming back. We drove from Mexico. We drove to Mexico from Washington State all the way to Mexico. And I remember,
oh man,
we were crossing. I think we were like hitting Texas, and that song came on the radio just randomly. Like I was just flipping through the FM station, whatever, and that came on, and it just like that beat too, just kind of like, whoa, what is the dude? It was nuts. But those songs had a piece of history in my life because it's like I was doing this at this time. I remember, dude. Yeah, it's crazy. Okay, that's a good one. That is a good one. Hypnotized by Biggie. Okay, so for me, a second one, man, that's tough. Like you were saying, it's tough to follow up with. Murder Was the Case. It would have to be something recent. I would say maybe like in the 2000s. Oh man, honestly, one of the ones that comes to mind, and this might be like, oh really? Ja Rule, Put It On Me.
Really?
Yeah. Like that shit, like I don't want to be like, you know, he would say that. It's like that, those Chinese bells, like those,
I know what you're talking about.
that just, it's like, damn, like
It was,
you would mix.
yeah, nobody else was doing that.
Nobody. Like it was just like its own thing at the time. And that sound was kind of like R.I.P. to Irv Gotti. He passed away, I would say, a couple of months ago, right? He was a producer. He was heavily producing a lot of his records at the time. But that was almost kind of like a signature sound of his. He would implement those like chimes or bells, whatever they were, in a lot of the songs. So I was like, oh, this is actually pretty cool, you know? So that one stuck out to me because of that reason.
You say that, and it just reminds me of the first time I heard DMX come out. Dun, 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 dun. People want to try. People want to jump. Shut up, down, open up, jump. But he had that. You know,
that song was heavily rotated when I was growing up in high school in Pateras, a small town over there by Lake Chelan on the east side of the hills. Shout out to the people over there. But that song, Rough Riders Anthem, was being heavily played. Yeah. Like, and I always do like, that's such a long name for that song, Rough Riders Anthem. Because that's what it was called, right? Rough Riders Anthem. But when you heard it, it's like, okay.
Oh, man.
It was definitely a song.
So that was when, like, we were kind of starting to give up on music, right?
Yeah.
Like, we didn't know where hip hop was going to go. And, you know, Mace came out with his stuff. Yeah. We're like, you know, I mean, I don't think you're gonna hold the mantle, you know what I mean? Yeah. And so then, because people just they still wanted that gritty city life, you know, they didn't want this shiny parachute pants wearing guy, you know, like I was murder. P. Diddy made me pretty. Did it for the money. Now can you get with me? No. Take me back to the
gutter, to the nitty gritty. Yeah.
And so then that's when, you know, and then the music video came out, and then, you know, DMX and then these people, these street cats are doing pull-ups on the traffic, you know, man, the walk sign.
He was his own breed, man. What he brought. I think like it was almost like, dude, nobody could do it better than DMX when it came to like that rugged street style. Like this is like the product of the streets type deal from the East Coast. Yeah. He was that dude. And to think like the vision was right. Like they said that they wanted to make a group with Ja Rule, Jay-Z, and DMX.
Yeah, too much ego.
How would that, like, do you think it would have been? The rumor is that there was an album recorded but just never released.
Ego aside, it would have been fire.
Okay.
If they could have just stopped with the pissing match between them, and they just let the art speak for itself. Yeah, dude, they were the three heavy hitters at the time. I would say in their prime, all in their prime.
They were, for the East Coast, I would say they were the top three. Yeah. They were. They brought, each of them brought what they could to the table in their own like kind of like flavor, in the sense of just how they rapped and just the lyrics that they would drop. It was, you know, at the time, I mean, even Jay-Z, now that he's not really dropping as many records, or even, you know, Ja Rule, he's kind of just doing his, like, you know, his greatest hits and performances and all
50 that. Put him in retirement, right?
Yeah, definitely, for sure. But, yeah, man, no, it's crazy to think about stuff like that and always kind of ask yourself, like, what could have been if it didn't happen, go a different route, right? Mm-hmm. But we'll always, I mean, this makes for good conversation, you know, because obviously here we're talking about stuff that's happened so many years ago, but it's always interesting to think about that type of stuff where, how would have things played out had they gone this way instead of that way.
And I want to hear. Really, I want to hear from the old heads, right? People like in our era that were there for that.
30 plus, right? 30 plus years, to say?
Yeah.
About the 30 line?
Yeah. 30, mid 30s, early 40s, right in there. Yeah. You were there during that time, so we're all seeing the same thing. What are we missing, right? With everybody that we've put out there, I know I haven't talked about Master P, but I will say I will say it right now. When he came out with No Limit Records and he came out with the album Ghetto D, that was played on heavy rotation in my Beretta. I mean, make crack like this, ghetto dope. Oh yeah. And I could never, no matter how much they tried to shove Silk the Shocker down my throat, I could never get down with his music. Hated him from day one. Yeah. I hated every song I'd just fast forward through his lyric, I just couldn't stand him. And I'm like, man, I know you guys are brothers and everything, but man, this sucks. Like, just no.
Yeah. No, man, they always brought, was it, no, this is a genuine question I have. Were they the ones to really first start doing like that style of artwork? Like, were they the ones, or was they like Cash Money?
No, that was No Limit.
No. Oh, okay. Because that style seems to be like, and I see it in shirts. Like I saw this one dude, like he took a picture of himself and he like posed just like doing a different pose, but he made like that same artwork and he made a shirt himself.
I mean,
like,
super. For those that don't remember, super gaudy, right? Like jewels embossed. I mean, there was a lot of money.
Each sides,
yeah. Black Panther sitting in there like they're your pet.
The Mercedes, the bug-eyed Benz.
The women in their scantily clad, bikinis pouring
over the top,
completely over them, feeding you grapes.
It was definitely a certain style they were going for.
Yeah.
Right? Oh man, that was nuts. But nah, man, that we're on this topic, dude. You have to go back into history, dude. It's like they had New Orleans, right? Enola, Cash Money, Master P with No Limit. I mean, every coast had its thing. Death Row Records, Bad Boy, Def Jam. I mean, dude, the heavy hitters of just what artists they each had during the time frame leading up to now. It's like, it's crazy to see the evolution, right? Like, I wonder where it'll go from a couple years from now. You know what I'm saying? Like where it's at. Like, because we were talking about how not so long ago that a lot of these older artists are doing just kind of like tours of their classics now. Yeah. And you're starting to see a lot of,
hunger.
You're seeing a lot of like the younger crowd being introduced what at the time was at the top of the charts, but also maybe gaining new fans from it, and maybe pushing to release more new stuff coming out in the future. So that'll be cool to see, because I'm a fan of, like I said, if it's good music, it's good music in my opinion, bro. So it's like, will we see this be like a fire being ignited so it'll push them more to where, like, how does, let's say, Warren G sound in 2025 now? Like, I would be curious to know that.
Right.
I would be curious to know that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Maybe if the Twins come out and present another album, follow up to Conversations.
It's like,
I'm just putting it out there.
It's like the parallel to this is like trailer park culture, right? When Nickelback first came out, and
I've been sending you a lot of gems, like a lot of like,
you had like 3 trailers from me. This is how you remind me of what I really am. And it's like, what's up, Frank? And then, so we're coming out with this new music. It's on the radio. But AC/DC always stayed in permanent rotation, right? Yeah. Permanent. And so this is, I think, what, this is hip hop's version of the AC/DC era. That was like, that Biggie, that Tupac, that just everything in that era. Yeah. You can go into anything. Like if you're rocking a Trans Am, you're always thinking of AC/DC. You're always, that all that music back then, there was just nothing like it. And I think that's what the 90s hip hop, the mid 90s golden era hip hop is to hip hop. They finally have their thing that's just, it's never going to be taken away.
Forever ingrained in history and cemented in history, I think, and it's always good to find people to talk about this stuff that really remember and were there to like talk about when they first heard those songs or what they felt, what they thought about it, and just like being a first time listener, because at that time, man, like the internet really wasn't really what it is now, because everything spreads so quick.
Yep.
But when you come across something new, especially when we're talking about music, at that time, like in the early 2000s, it's like you would literally go to the store to buy a CD for that one song sometimes.
Yeah, I got to share a little story about my boy Jimmy, right? Jimmy, he's like my mom's age, right?
Yeah.
And so he's coming from that era, that AC/DC. And he was just sharing a story with me the other day. And he was talking about everything he talks about is so relatable to me, because I grew up in Montana. He grew up in a small city in Washington. And so I would listen to this new music or whatever, and I just couldn't wait to like show my friends or whatever. Well, he was talking about one time he went to Seattle from this small town called like Klickitat.
Klickitat. Is it Klickitat or Klickitat?
I think it's Klickitat.
Oh, okay. No, I never heard of that.
But anyway, so he went up to Seattle, and he was in this record store or whatever, and he got this cassette tape
Okay.
of AC/DC. Bat Out of Hell.
Oh, okay.
When it was brand new.
Dang.
And so he brings it home, and he's like, so he's listening to it the whole way home, and he's just like loving this new sound, because they were still in Klickitat. They were still listening to some of the older 70s music, and early 80s, whatever.
Yeah.
But this AC/DC was on a whole new level.
Brand new. Nobody's really heard it. Not radio rotation. Just cassette,
brand new sound.
Cassette to ear, pretty much.
Yeah, but it was getting rotation in the cities, right? Because the city is just like, check this new stuff out, right? So he takes it with him, and he said that one day he came into his room, and the tape was gone.
Whew.
Someone stole his tape. His older brother. His older brother took his tape and was playing it
in his Trans Am
for all of his friends. So then, ever since then, all of a sudden, the whole city of Klickitat was introduced to AC/DC.
Oh wow, so organic, dude. It's like so organic how. Oh, you need to check this out, and everybody just becomes a fan like that, dude.
Just circling around the radio.
It only takes just that one, too, where it just spreads like wildfire after that, man. It's crazy.
And all the memories that come with that music, right?
Yeah, remember we were at so-and-so's house and we heard, Dude,
Yep.
like, we'll never have that, because everything's just going to be like, oh, I heard it on my phone.
Right.
It's like you're missing those like key elements of like what made it great. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like it took a process for it to get to that point to where it created memories. You heard it from so-and-so, and then it becomes like a conversation piece.
Yep.
And that's what those are like always going to be the things that just will forever hold right here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. We can talk about
here.
Right here. Exactly. Here and here, both ends.
Yeah.
No, man, we could talk about this, more and more just on the sole topic of music, man. But I mean, we're getting close to that crunch time. But other than that, brother, do you have anything else you want to bring to the table?
I think we hit everything on there. And again, I have to thank you for one, the Aqua.
Of course.
And then two, for bringing the twins into my orbit,
dude,
and getting me up on those, because I'm like, that's the type of stuff that it's just like,
it will be part of the rotation. I'll
it's
tell you
new, but it's classic. You know what I mean? So I'm super excited to check it out.
Definitely. And it also, I would want to be more engaging with our followers and listeners, of course. If you're a fan of just music overall, which I'm sure all of you are, but in rap, specifically rap, hip hop, go check it out. I'm just saying, I'm just giving you a recommendation, what I feel like you guys would like if you like rap, hip hop. Again, Twins, the album is called Conversation, fully produced by Warren G. Warren G, if you ever come across this, any of our clips, whatever, huge fans of you. I think you're an absolute monster at producing, and I'm gonna put it into the universe. Hopefully one day maybe we can come across and get close to just interviewing for a solid 30 minutes, talk about
Warren G,
those
please,
days. I want to hear from you yourself. Talk about those days, the feel, the vibe. What went through your mind where you're like, you start off with this beat and then you just progress from there and it becomes what Round and Round was. I just want to hear from you, from the person themselves. You know what I'm saying? So we'll put that out there. But we're going to sign out, people.
Yeah.
We love you. We're going to try to be consistent, of course, with our content. Bear with us. We do our best to definitely, provide you some awesome content for you to enjoy, whether you're at work, you're at home, you're cleaning your car, you're doing laundry, you're mowing the lawn, or just, you wanted something cool to listen to. So stick with us. We'll do our best to definitely record, and also stay tuned for First live episode again, like we said, more details to come.
Yeah, baby.
If we do record an episode, we'll dive in a little bit more on what it entails, but we'll try to keep it in touch because we like to surprise the people, of course. But we'll catch you in the next one. We love you. Take care out there. Stay safe. Until next time. Peace.